As one of the most talked about names in NASCAR and Indy racing, Danica Patrick's success on the driving circuit has opened lots of doors in the business world. She's become the face of some of the world's most prominent brands. Danica caught the entrepreneurial bug, launching everything from wines to a line of athleisure clothing. And with her final race, she's setting her sights on her next round of ventures.
You know, it is amazing, Danica. You think back 10 years ago, the historic IndyCar win at the Indy Japan 300. I want to read a quick quote to you from the time. You said, "It's going to be nice not to have to answer those questions around winning anymore. They were just so hard to answer because I believed in myself. I just didn't know when it was going to happen." How often do you reflect on the impact you have had on so many people in your career?
Well, thank you for that. You know, I think that that's something that comes to mind when I think about like the Daytona 500 in February and with this Indy 500, is that you want it to go well so badly. You think that's somehow going to be how you're remembered, is by these last races. But it's so much more broad than that. Again, it's been 13 years since that Indy 500 in 2005, and I thought I was popular back then, so you know that only grows, and the story only grows, and there's been so many things that have happened along the way that you know, that add to it. So it's you saying that helps remind me of the perspective of it all and how I do want to do so well at these last races, and especially at the Indy 500, but they're not defining my body of work of 13 years professionally and 26 odd years. This is the 27th season of my career. That's what people hopefully remember.
And in many respects, you're just getting started, because there's a lot ahead, which we do want to talk about. But when did you know this would represent maybe the right time for you to make that next step in your career?
Well, I mean, I think I had faced the fact a few years ago, that I loved racing, but you know, I was passionate about other things, and there's a lot of misery in racing. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't win, you're disappointed. Even second place sometimes is sometimes the most disappointing, because you were so close to winning, and that's the goal. So I had that sort of insight into, you know, another way I could live, and you know, the signs just showed themselves last year. My primary sponsor had left, and you know, I sat back and really let it all happen. I didn't push. I just kind of let things flow, and things just weren't coming together the way that I would want them to. And you know, certain things like a bunch of accidents happened all in a small amount of time, and you know, various different things were happening that made me go, you know what, I feel like I'm getting the message. I'm seeing the signs in there that it's time to move on. And ironically, all these other businesses that I've been passionate about, all these other things that I've been passionate about, turned into businesses all within the last year or so. So my wine finally came out. My clothing line started at the beginning of last year. A book launched at the beginning of this year that I had been writing for 2 years. So, you know, with a fitness program and recipes, and I love cooking. So it all kind of came out, and it was like, wow, it's perfect timing. It seems a little premature, but you know what? No, it's not. Like, I need to put myself into these other companies, and now I'm going to have the time. 38 more weeks a year, more time.
It's so impressive to see all the businesses that you're involved with. I wonder, have you found any similarities between the world of being an entrepreneur and racing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to be extremely determined. You have to be involved. You have to be confident. You have to surround yourself with good people. You have to have good products. You have to, and it takes time. I think that's maybe what I know now, based on the span of my career. I actually thought back in the Formula Atlantic days when I was, you know, early 20s, I was like, man, I feel so popular. Why aren't all these deals happening? Why isn't this? Why not this magazine? Why not this show? And then as time goes on, you realize, oh, yeah, now I'm a lot more popular. And so, oh gosh, got it. Now the message gets out. Now more mainstream America has watched enough Indy 500s or whatever it is and seen enough articles about me. Now I'm more popular. And so you realize that there's so much out there in the world, even more than ever now, so much stimulation and so many products and so many promotions with social, with TV, with, you know, literature, you name it. There's just so much. It just takes time. And so I've learned, obviously, that getting the right people around you is important, but I also sort of learned a little bit of patience. And, you know, it's time to go in on some groundwork. You know, I think with racing, it's like there's only certain things that I'll do because it's, you know, I've been in it so long. But with these other companies, they're brand new, so you kind of have to go grassroots a little.
Absolutely, and you talked about some of those brands. I mean, over the years, obviously, so many people speak about the partnership, the successful partnership with GoDaddy, but there have been so many, and I just wonder, over the years, what you've learned about that importance of brand, finding the right fits for yourself on the business side.
Well, people are smart, you know. Consumers are smart. When you're watching something, reading something, you can see through it pretty well. And I think that's why the relationship with GoDaddy has gone on so long, is because it's such an authentic relationship. I mean, I think it speaks volumes that the commercial that came out at the Daytona 500 for GoDaddy was promoting all of my brands.
I'm leaving the track behind, but I'm not standing still. And with GoDaddy, I've made my ideas real.
And it's like, well, thank you. I mean, sponsoring me is fantastic. That's really all that's necessary. But now they're helping me with all my other companies too. And that just shows how well the partnership works and how that's what they do, is they help people with their small businesses. And so I'm just a great story of that, and what a perfect transition on where we came from to where we are now, and how I'm getting into that. And so there's so many more layers that they've been helping me with, but I think that that's just a really good example of our brands and our companies and our values and where we're going and what we're doing just match up so perfectly.
You use that word small business. It's no secret your parents have been entrepreneurs throughout their lives. I wonder if that planted an early seed for you. Did that impact your interest in business?
I'm sure. I mean, we learn from what we're exposed to, what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've read, and what we've, you know, especially what we've lived in. So my parents started a glass company, they started an oil exchange, they started a coffee shop, they started a carbon fiber business, like you name it. They just that's what they do. My dad gets a little stir crazy, but you know, other than that, and my mom's good at finances, but they're brave and they're bold and they're willing to take chances and dream big. And so I definitely learned that from my parents, and learned great values around all of that and what it takes, as well as what you need to make sure that you do to protect yourself. So, but dreaming big has been something that's been instilled in me from a young age, and I still promote it today. Honestly, the most common thing that I say, at whether I'm talking to Girl Scouts or whether I'm talking to a room of CEOs and people that are, you know, trading millions of dollars for companies, I'm like, look, you need to sit down and ask yourself, what would you do if you could do anything in the world? What would that be? And not only think it, but then write it down and dream into it. And so I've always been a dream big kind of person.
Absolutely, which gets me to my final question on your to-do list, because we know there's a lot on the road ahead and you're already busy with all these new businesses, but what's on your list, your to-do list as an entrepreneur going forward?
Man, I mean, obviously with the wine, with Somnium, with the book Pretty Intense, with the clothing line Warrior, and then I love cooking, so recipes and some kind of a cooking show, as well as hopefully spinning off and making the workout program something more substantial and standalone. There's a lot of different things, but I think in all, if I'm looking at the whole thing, because I could give you my goals for each one of those, I just hope that someday somebody knows me for something else more than racing, and not to be dismissive of racing, but only to speak volumes about something else that I was capable of doing.